Hello, everybody. Um, I have a little um, went digging into the attic to get some yarn um, to show you, and I'm not. I'm really tired. I'm not sleeping well. It's distress, um, mostly work related. Nothing that I or anybody can do. Just working through it. I appreciate everybody's comments and concerns. Um, and hopefully um, things will get better because I like doing the videos and interacting with everybody. So let's get digging into this tote, shall we? So first up, we have, some people pronounce it Bernat, some people pronounce it as Bernay. It's okay. We we know what everyone's talking about. Um, so I call it Bernat. Other people call it Bernay. Perfectly fine. But this was some really nice yarn. It's they no longer make it. I've searched for it because I really liked. This was a really nice 4 weight, um, and as you can see, they call it the Afghan yarn, and it made beautiful Afghans. About 10 years ago, give or take, maybe 8. I should ask my friend how old her grandson is because I made her grandson a blanket out of this, the same color. He still has it today. And she said that the blanket is perfectly fine. She says it's like you just gave it to him. It's holding up really well because this was an inexpensive, really nice 4 weight yarn. Um, let's let's see if we can get some specs. So it is 100% acrylic. It's 100 grams, 3.5 ounces. It's worsted weight. They want you to use a 5 millimeter or a U.S.A knitting needle. They want you to use a 5 millimeter or U.S.H or an 8 crochet hook. It's machine wash and dryable, so it was perfect for a baby blanket. It is not as stiff or as scratchy as Red Heart. I'm not taking anything away from Red Heart. You know I like Red Heart. It's just a comparison because what I wish people would think about, it's like, yeah, Red Heart's scratchy, it's tough, it's rough, it's, I can't work with it. I understand. I've been doing this 30 plus years. I understand. But it gives a good yarn a bad rap, and people don't want to buy it. Red Heart softens up when you wash it. We all know that. We've used Red Heart for eons. We know this. Sorry, my nose is a little stuffy. Um, One thing that I have done is I have a yarn swift. Okay, I take one of these and I wind it on my yarn swift to make a hank of yarn. I make sure it's tied very well. I will then put the yarn in a clothing bag, and I will wash it in the washing machine. It softens up. You take it out, you put it back on your Swift, and you ball wind it on your ball winder. You have it goes into a cake of yarn. The scratchiness, and it softens up. It like blooms. The fibers bloom, and yes, it takes a little bit of time and effort that way. But if you think about it, your yarn's already washed. And as long as you keep your yarn, your hands clean as you're making your garment, it's already washed. It's pre-washed. Now, I only do that with acrylics. And so far I've only done it with my Red Heart because I want it to be a little bit softer. Sometimes I just grab Red Heart and make my project, throw it in the washer, dry it, and send it on its way. But there's other times it's like I will take the extra time, hank it up, wash it, dry it, cake it up, make whatever it is. But that's just a suggestion, and because Red Heart is not that bad. Let's see if we can see the color of this. Nope. It just gives a color. 1000. The color is 01243. And it does have a dye lot. But it's a really pretty green. It's a nice yarn. So, we've got 1, 2, 3. We have 4 left. And it is a 4-weight. Let's see how many yards. Because I don't believe I said that. It is 210 yards, 192 meters. So I have 840 yards. So this could easily make a wrap, a hat and a scarf easy. And the stitch definition for that yarn is very good. It really pops that, but they don't make it anymore. I know you know. Because you've knit, you've crocheted, you've weaved, whatever. You always have a good yarn. You love that yarn, and then it goes away. It could be around for 5 or 6, 7 years, maybe even longer. And then all of a sudden that line just like one day, it's like you go to pick some up, it's like, no, it's gone. It's like, oh, I've got 5. So that's 1,050 yards. And who knows, I might find another one. This tote is kind of like my leftovers. Things that yarn I bought to make a project, made the project, and put it in a bin. And when you see me tossing my yarn, I'm not tossing on the floor. I'm tossing over on the couch. So it's not, I take good care of my yarn. Now, I know I'm going to get ruffled feathers, but this is Homespun from Lion Brand. It's beautiful. It's orange. I'm not an orange person. I don't gravitate to orange. I'm not going to go out of my way to go to the store to buy orange unless I have to. And I ordered Oh, goodness. Probably 12 years ago. My niece graduated high school, and for her graduation, she wanted Uncle Russ to make her a blanket. Of course, she. um, so it's like, okay, she let me know and plan, she let me know way ahead of time. So I ordered some yarn from Italy, orange, and she wanted it. She wanted the really big, thick yarn, and she wanted it soft and plush, and so that was not cheap. And so I made it, and then she's like, I gave it to her. She loved it. She fell in love with it. She sealed it. She sealed it, and it was, I didn't know that at the time, but I would keep asking her, well, how's your blanket? Oh, my blanket's fine. My blanket's fine. Okay. I thought she was using it. My mom goes and stays because she don't live in the town that we all grew up in. Her and my dad live in another state. But we have, my sister's there, her husband, her granddaughter, my niece, her husband, their two kids. Um, Plus, she has two sisters, I think, living in the same town. So from time to time, she'll have somebody take her, or um, my dad will drive her in, and she'll stay for a couple of weeks. And I had asked Mom, I says, well, how's the blanket? Because Mom was cold. It's like, well, how's the blanket? See if you can use it. And Mom's like, she has it sealed in the closet. Nobody can touch it. It's like, no. I said, I didn't spend that much money and that much time making her that blanket. And I told Mom, I said, let me talk to her. It's like, look, darling, unseal the blanket and use it. She's like, but I don't want nothing to happen to it. It's fine. If something happens to it, I will make you a new one. And she says, well, I would really like a pillowcase to go with it. Really? Okay, I'll see what I can do. I'm not buying the same yarn, that's for sure. But I found this, which was really similar to what her blanket was. And it was much cheaper. So I bought several skeins of this, Homespun, and made her pillowcase. And she still has the pillowcase. She still has the blanket. And she's been using it and washing and drying it for years. And I told her, I said, see, nothing's going to happen to it as long as you don't put a hole in it or set it on fire. You'll be okay. But this is homespun. It is 98 acrylic, 2% polyester. It's 185 yards, 170 grams, or 6 ounces. 169 meters. 169 meters, 185 yards. It is a bulky 5. And they would like you to use a 6mm knitting needle or a 6.5mm crochet hook. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I've got 9 of them. at 185 yards. Plenty to make something. Plenty. And now we've got, oh, come here. Okay, now I showed a version. Of this yarn. In white. Okay? And this is called Northern Lodge. I bought this from Hirschner's. And it is really, really nice yarn. It's a 50 wool, 50 acrylic. It's 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, 228 yards, 210 meters. Hand wash, dry flat. It's made in Turkey. It's a 4-weight, and they want you to use a U.S.A knitting needle or a I-9 crochet hook. Now, let's see. The color is indigo. And for being a 50-50, 50 wool, 50 acrylic, this is some really, really soft stuff. And the Northland that I showed before was 100% wool, and it was all white. This is a 50-50 blend. And oh my gosh, this is so soft. And the stitch definitions work wonderful. And it's just some really, really nice yarn. And I did not check to see if they still make this. They still might. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 9. So that's 1,800, over 1,800 yards. I could make a blanket with that. Easy. Now, I have another green. Well, the other green was from Bernat. This is Northland Lodge. And I love it. And there's the green. And this colorway is olive. And this is some really, really nice stuff. 50-50. Yep, everything's the same. But I've got 10 balls of these. So that's 2,280 yards. Blanket. And that's typically when I go buy a color, doesn't matter. I want around 2,000 yards. That is enough to knit a blanket. It's enough to knit a baby blanket, or I'm sorry, knit with 2,280 yards. You can pretty much knit whatever you want. I could even knit a sweater, my size, pretty close. I might have to use maybe an accent color for like the cuffs, the neck, and the waist. But for the most part, 2,200 will get you a decent sized sweater. In knitting, crochet, those of us that knit and crochet, we know knitting uses less yarn than crochet. But knitting also takes longer. So weigh your odds. Here lately, I've been crocheting way more than knitting. because I had to have blankets done like right now. And the only way I can do that is crochet. I crochet way faster. Um, so I typically buy at least as close to 2,000 yards as I can. Sometimes I go over. Now, if it's a toss up, if am I going to knit or crochet? Like if I have like a couple of patterns, um, if I have a pattern in crochet and a pattern in knit, and I'm not sure what one I want to do, I will buy enough yarn for the crochet project. Because I know if I buy enough yarn to crochet a blanket, I'm going to have way plenty to knit. And here's this. Oh. This is some. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. This is some really nice yarn. Real expensive yarn. I forgot I had this. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it is Ella Ray Classic Heathers, and that is just gorgeous green. Color is 125. The dye lot does have a dye lot. Looks like 6930. It's made in Romania. It's 100 grams, 100% wool, 219 yards. They want you to use a U.S.A. crochet or a U.S.A. knitting needle. Either way. But it is gorgeous. It's 100% wool. I don't know if I said that or not. But you can tell it's wool. It's got that grip to it. But I love wool. And it smells so good. And, you know, like I said, I do take care of my yarn. So, but I've got a full bag of the same color, same dye lot. So that's 2,190 yards. Plenty to do whatever I wish. And that's not cheap stuff. Ella Ray 100% wool is quite pricey. Okay, now. Oh, how did I end up with this? I don't know. It's one I don't gravitate towards, I'll tell you that. Now, when I say I don't like a color or I don't gravitate to a color, it does not mean I don't use that color. I will use it, but you're not going to find overabundance of it, of that color in my stash. And this is one of them. It's like a pinkish mauve. Field Rose is what it's called. It's Northland Lodge. Actually, there we go. That's better. It might have had a glare on it from the light. It's 50 wool, 50 acrylic, 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, 228 yards, 210 meters. It's a medium 4-weight, made in Turkey, hand washed, dry flat. And it's just like the other. It's really, really nice. A friend of mine loves pink. No, she don't. She hates pink. I was just being funny. So, now, we've got... Now, this is a pretty color. This is kind of like a wine. So this too is Northern Lodge, and it is like a very pretty wine color. It's pretty close to color. Maybe a little bit darker, but it's got the same specs. And I've got 10 of these, so that's 2,280 yards. And that is everything that was in that tote. Not a whole lot, but there's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 some skeins in a tote. So, quite a few skeins. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I love you. You know I do. And I will see you all in my next video, okay? Bye.